Hey, folks, it's one of those days where you almost close the tab that you're streaming from. That was real. So it took me a second. I almost hit the wrong button. But it's nice to see we got some friends in the chat room already. We got Aztec Consulting with us. Hey, how's it going, my friend? And I've got John Bristowe here with me. How are you, John?
I'm good. Hope everyone out there is having a good February start, I guess. April. January didn't start off so well, but yeah, hopefully February is going to be better. So we're living month to month here now. So
Yeah, I know the feeling. We're just getting over the good old fashioned COVID over here at the house. So everybody's well and we're doing okay, except I can't control my tabs here again.
that's fine.
Just getting back into the swing of things. We've got a little bit of topical news for you guys today. And of course, I promised some of John's favorite material this week. I have
Sure.
not only dogs barking in the background, but I've
fine.
got some Metaverse news that I know you will absolutely enjoy. And I just noticed my second monitor isn't working, so you'll have to put up with all mirrors today as I switch between these very important screens here. So let's get started, John. I got these backwards. I want to talk about this one first. I know you're gonna absolutely love this, and this is, if it's not hard enough
for virtual houses.
Exactly. So if it's not hard enough to get proper real world real estate these days, apparently it's going to be expensive to get virtual real estate pretty soon as well. So the real estate in the metaverse has topped already a $500 million valuation, and it's going to double this year.
Great. Good.
I don't know who's buying this stuff, but apparently there are 4 real estate companies in the metaverse: Sandbox, Decentraland, Cryptovoxels, and Somnium. Yeah. Are you ready to put down some cash? Like, do you get like a mortgage on these things? Do you get like the 30-year typical
I hope
investment?
so. I hope people do this. I really do.
I feel like you're being sarcastic, John.
Yes.
Just a hint of sarcasm.
Look, it's one of those things, when you get to that age where you're like, I'd never be like that. I'm always going to be hip to whatever is happening, but I cannot see, as much as people put currency into owning, the house that's located next to Snoop Dogg's virtual house or something. I don't know. I don't really see much value in this, to be honest. I mean, you're just buying ones and zeros, basically. So
yeah. So the article actually goes into this a little bit, and this bottom line here says it well. It says the problem with a lot of people is we have a difficult time attributing value to things that are digital, you can't hold or weigh. Where the younger generation doesn't seem to have a problem with this with NFTs and blockchain. But what bothers me about it is like how unique is this, this space? It's kind of like the digital trading card. Like, the Magic the Gathering went digital, and it's like they've always been kind of printing their own money, but it still was a physical object that you had to go to like a comic book store or something to buy and trade.
Yep.
And they felt like they had value because there was some scarcity to them. And then it went online, and it's like it just became super obvious that the scarcity is very much rigged. You know what I mean? There's no finite quantity to any of this stuff. It's whatever amount of these items they would like to make. And this land grab goes the same way. It's like, okay, once the metaverse fills up with purchased properties, they just kind of like dole out another area to this land grab. I mean, how scarce is the supply of digital goods?
Well, that's the thing. It's not, and there's nothing preventing from them creating a new one. And
spin up
I don't
another
know.
server.
it's Emperor's New Clothes. I don't get it. It's like, is anyone else not seeing this? Like, and you're just yelling into basically this abyss. So I think it's a big giant waste of time, but whatever.
And any
People
one
want
of
to do it,
these
go
four
for it.
companies can just take the money and run at any point too. There's nothing saying they have to
Whatever.
stay
I don't
online
care.
and provide a service. It just,
Yeah, I think it's
and the amount of money
I think
that's
it's pretty
trading
I
hands
think
here is
it's
pretty crazy.
I know. I think it's pretty sad that people put so much they invest so much in this sort of thing. I think it's just a giant waste of time, but whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I
not
mean, these
interested.
like $14,000 a piece. It says some
Yeah, I know. It's just
sold for over $100,000, and it if this makes you feel any better, we're looking at a an $8 trillion metaverse market just in China
I don't buy that
alone.
for a second. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I think this whole metaverse. Look, I'll say it right now. I think this whole metaverse thing is going to be a big giant. What were we thinking? Remember, like
Yes
I
and no.
think. Remember when you were a kid? Remember when you were a kid and your mom said, "Don't sit too close to the TV because it's going to
Mhm.
ruin your eyes." Now the TV's like this. Like it's just. Like
Yes.
not only that, it's like, what are we doing? Like this is. I don't get it. I just don't get this. So, whatever. Maybe I'm not meant to get it. Maybe I'll miss it all entirely. Maybe it'll pass me by, and I'll be one of those old people, um, who's questioning everything. And I don't know. Maybe it's a sign of my age. I don't know. I'd like to think I'm still kind of privy to what's happening in terms of trends and what will take. I just don't get this. This is. I don't understand. So
So I agree
whatever.
with some of this.
$8 trillion,
That's
sure. Why not? Why don't we make it 80 trillion while we're at it?
sure.
So
Why not?
you know,
I do agree with some of the headlines here, though. So it says Morgan Stanley expects the metaverse to replace the mobile internet. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. With a more
what?
immersive experience.
So people are
Yes.
going to be walking on sidewalks with these things on their faces. Is that what you're saying?
Telling you, it's coming. It is coming. Once the right device hits, people are going to forget about mobile phones, and
No,
they're going to
look
be.
until we solve until we solve the problem with batteries.
Mhm.
Until we solve the problem with batteries. Until we solve the problem with network throughput. Until we solve a lot of these other problems, this is not going to happen. But I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'm sure people will 5 years, whatever from now, people are like, oh, look at John, how much of a moron he missed the whole thing. I don't know. I mean, I've lived through a
I mean, I
lot of
said that
these
5 years
waves of
ago, but that's okay.
okay, whatever, 5 minutes from now. I don't know. I mean, it's just
Uh,
I'm happy to be proven wrong on this. I just don't see people replacing reality with something like this. And I don't see this technology being as convincing as reality, to be honest. And I get it. You want to play games and stuff, but I mean, there's life outside of games. So I don't know. And like, if anything, if this pandemic has taught us anything, is that virtual teaching, virtual meetings and stuff, yeah, they're possible, but no one likes it as
mhm.
much as face to face. So it's like, okay, like we've done the experiment for the last 2 years. People don't like it as much as the real thing. So what are we doing? So whatever.
So for me, I'm
I'm
looking
done.
at trends of how things are moving, and if you
Okay.
look at like mobile gaming, for example, you've
Okay.
got how many different games out there that have their own digital currency? Pretty much every
Like,
one of them these days,
yeah,
right?
like all of them. Sure.
Yeah. So this is going to supersede that platform at some point with all of its digital currencies and land. And we just read an article about $100,000 piece of property being sold in the virtual metaverse. I could see it
I think this
happening,
is all
John. I'm sorry.
no, I think this is all buzzwords, and I think people are throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall, and I don't buy it, but whatever. Happy to be proven wrong. Trust me.
I mean,
I
they
realize how
did
I sound.
they did get blockchain in here. I'll have to give them
Great.
that.
Good.
They did
Great.
manage to
Can't wait.
mention they had a name drop
Listen, if this
blockchain.
takes off and it's super awesome and everything, I'm like, great. That's great. And I might even buy a headset. I haven't yet. I've never bought a headset. I've used them. and I know what this is like, and I like I grew up with some of this stuff in a variety of ways. But the reality is that I don't think it's not better than the real thing, to quote the YouTube song, YouTube song. Um, it's not. I'm using the opposite of that. It's not even better than the real thing. So anyway, this is like new Coke. I don't think people are going to replace reality with something else.
No, I don't think they'll replace reality. I think your mobile handset will eventually go away. I think
Disagree.
people will transition
Totally disagree. Totally
to
disagree.
a more interactive device that we have yet to
Disagree.
see.
Unless it's implanted, and that's the only caveat I'll make. If it's implanted, it's seamless, and it's like an optical lens, and no one can see it, and it's not like glasses like these, or if it's it's so lightweight, you don't have to recharge it as often. Like if we fix the battery problem relative to mobile devices, that's going to be monumental unto itself. I mean, like that's one of the biggest problems we have right now with mobile is that mobile's biggest problem right now is we don't have a medium, we don't have a capacitive medium that's good enough to hold charge and the efficiency of these batteries are so low relative to other options, right? This is the reason why gasoline is still very popular, because it actually holds a high amount of energy in a small volume. And as much as we're doing around lithium ion, etc., those things can't compare. And this is why things like gasoline is so popular, because it's super efficient relative to volume to energy ratios. And we're still facing this problem with like these things I'm wearing right here. I have to charge them every day. John. Okay, great. I just tapped this.
John, talking about battery life, and I think his battery just cut out on his headset.
That's true.
As he's talking about
true.
It.
Well, apparently he can. Some people can.
You guys can still hear him. I cannot. I don't have John's audio.
It's all right. My rant's over anyway. So
let's see. Is this a Windows thing? Is this a headphones?
My rant is over.
I see it.
So
I've got it. Yes. Yeah. I thought your battery went out. No, Windows just decided to randomly pick another headset.
I tapped my headset and I think I kicked it over or something like that. But these things I'm wearing, I won't tap it this time. These things I'm wearing have to be charged every so often, and it's annoying. But it's it's like we still haven't solved this problem. So mobile devices now with screens and network, I know that's going to eat battery life for lunch, basically. And so until we solve that problem, you won't be able to walk around with that immersive experience as a mobile platform until we get that problem solved and other problems solved. Like it's going to be impractical, because it's going to be the 1980s equivalent of that VCR recorder. Remember in the 80s, for kids who are too young won't know this, but handheld cameras were monstrous back in the day. I remember this because I had one when I was a kid. And the thing was, you'd have the camcorder on one hand, which was monstrous, sit on your shoulder like this. But then on the other shoulder, you have the battery pack to just power this thing, So I don't know. I don't see, and like, if anything, that like we have prior art to tell us that people don't necessarily want mobile all the time. Look at Diablo, right? When Diablo got moved into the mobile experience, everyone was like, is this an early April Fool's joke? Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I don't see these devices, these mobile, these are great. These are like, this is what I think people want. This is the Star Trek future. Give me what are you doing? What are you doing?
So this is a solution.
This is the new immersive. Great.
We'll put batteries where these soda cans are.
Exactly.
We'll just have some big lithium ion batteries right there.
Yeah.
And then put the glasses on and you're good to go, John. I don't see the problem.
What's your point? Yeah, exactly. The problem is all the plastic this generates, it has to go somewhere. It's going to end up in the ocean, right? It's like that flying machine you showed me last time. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, rant over. I'll stop. I do this every time. I apologize, but it's just, I think we have better problems. No, I think we have much better problems to focus our attention on. And I would love to see, this is my one call to action, is like, look, we have a lot of problems. These are not the problems that we should be. I mean, I'm not.
We have fans. This is what they come here for. Is
Yes.
our lovely opinions on these topics. I
Look,
personally
I'm
have
happy to
been
be trashed. Look, this is probably going to be shown in whatever how many years, whatever, and they'll be like, "Look at this moron. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Like, fair enough, fair enough. Look, I can totally see this eventually taking off somehow. I don't know, but until we've got a problem. We've got a problem is that people are jumping way ahead, and then it's like then when we solve the battery with this, I'm like, wait. Like, you haven't solved that problem yet. You're it's like this is not a good look, and this is not going to work. So
so I
I don't
know
know.
this is probably like survivor bias, but I've made some pretty accurate tech predictions in the
Okay,
past.
so you think this is going to be
So
the thing?
I think there's some truth to the things that
Okay, all right, fair
are
enough. Hey,
reading.
dude, I'm happy to be proven
Not
wrong. I'm
as
happy to
an
be proven.
entire like whole like this article is $8 trillion like metaverse just in China, and it's talking about like in the near term. I don't think it's going to be that quick. I still think we have a few years on us, but some of the
No,
things
but
I talked
did you
about
guys not
back in the
see
day,
Wally? Did you guys not watch Wally? Do you guys want to move? Do you guys want to go to that reality? Like people
there's a
running.
momentum sometimes that we just can't escape, and whether we want to or not, I don't think is part of the question. It's not a should we, it's a can we
Resist.
situation. Yeah. But some of the things that I thought would be a thing a long time ago, people said, "You're a fool." Do you remember? I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever seen this clip from Hollywood Squares where
Yes. Yeah.
Gilbert
Gilbert
Godfrey
Godfrey.
just keeps
You
yelling,
fool.
"You fool!" Like I feel like
Yeah.
that's my whole
Exactly.
life. Like people are just like, "You fool," and then it ends up
Yes.
working out in the end.
Sure.
Solid state drives. Uh, that was writing on the wall from a long time ago. I had so many people tell me that wouldn't, never get small enough, cheap enough, fast enough to be a thing. Look at what we have
Really?
now.
People were saying that?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I
I
never
mean, I was
thought
saying
that for
this
a
a
second.
long time
I
ago.
was like, I hate
Yeah,
anytime there's moving parts, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I was saying this in
You
the
got
'80s.
platters.
Like,
It's like a record player. You got platters and these things drawing between them. It's like this is not going to last compared to this alternative. Believe me.
yeah, like '80s and '90s. I'm just a child. People are just dismissing everything I say anyway. But the
Sure.
other thing was LED lighting. I was telling people ages ago. LED lighting is going to be the future. It's a lot
Yeah,
more.
but dude, the problems there are not the hard problems we're considering with mobile. Like you're saying, we're going to take something like this, highly mobile, et cetera, and we're going to put it on your face, and it's going to be so compelling that you won't want to live in the real world, like it's Matrix stuff. And
I mean,
like,
there was a
no,
point where we didn't even have white LEDs yet. People are like, oh,
I know, but
they only come in green and red. You're crazy. They don't make enough light. We'll never, be able to make them big enough,
yeah,
bright enough,
apples and
cheap
bowling
enough.
balls, dude. You're comparing two, like it's not the same thing. LED lights, that's a gradual, very eventual improvement. You can see the writing is on the wall that with that, but you're talking about changing people's behaviors now.
I
Like,
think time frame
yes, okay,
matters.
I
I mean,
know the cynical
I said
people would
these
be like,
things
look,
20 something years ago before people were
I know,
really
but you're
thinking seriously
so
about it.
I know the cynic in me is thinking, what, it's not much of an extension to go from this to this, like you're talking about 6 inches basically. And I get it because you see people walking along sidewalks who are oblivious to everything that's going on around them. I think it's sad, but whatever. So
Yeah, I have a very extensive presentation that I wrote about this. First uploaded it to the web 2015. I was talking about long before that though. But the idea here is if you kind of look at things we have in the past, you can predict these things pretty accurately, I think.
all right.
Um, some of the things that are in here are like the size of data storage. Like this isn't
Yes.
like a personal prediction, but it's just looking back to get an idea of things. 1961, a hard disk drive was 205 megabytes. It stood 52
Fill the
inches
room.
tall, 70
Yes.
inches wide,
Yes.
and cost $3.6 million per gigabyte.
Yep.
Today, you're talking about terabytes, 3 cents a gig that fit in the size of, a small credit card.
Yep.
You see advances like that in 50 years. This stuff about putting glasses on your face isn't too far-fetched.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's like you're looking at things like, little memory, just 8 gigs is obviously an old one, but I know exactly what you're talking about, so these things will happen eventually. Batteries, though, are a hard problem. You're talking about chemistry now, so this is a very superconductors, etc. This is a long-standing problem. If we can fix that problem, then it's like all bets are off. It's like, yeah, for sure, we can totally do this, but no, you got some limits there. So
one of the really strange things that struck me about this old talk that I gave, I say old, 7 years ago now. It's not that old, but still 7 years ago. It still comes off as a little bit odd that I managed to pull this one out of thin air. I talked about, and this is off topic, by the way. It's topical, but
I think this whole thing is off topic.
I talked about in the scope of this session, like the using data for things, and I talked about what are we going to do when we have a pandemic, and how are people going to react to it. And one of the things I talked about is like people aren't going to want to quarantine. There's things other than the technology, that are going to play a role in this, but technology will play a role, and people are going to resist certain aspects of it, like quarantining, for example. So
or buying toilet paper.
Yeah, that one I didn't get. So yeah, but I did manage to not quite get the name of the metaverse right. I wish I would have coined it earlier. I just basically said it's a fourth dimension of sorts. I didn't quite have a term to wrap around it. I think metaverse is kind of lame, to be honest, but hey, I can't find it in here. But
the Twilight Zone works for me. That's
the point of the whole thing, is that it's not going to be comfortable, especially for people like you, John, who are already uncomfortable with it.
Look. I'm not saying I'm not comfortable with. I'm not saying I'm not comfortable with the idea. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that there are some very real and hard problems ahead of us to make this a reality. And the thing is, the impact, if we solve the problems associated with the metaverse in a mobile context, meaning battery, network, etc., the impact of those improvements will go far beyond just the metaverse itself becoming a reality. If we can invent superconductors, etc., that make battery life super long, etc., to support metaverse mobile experiences that I guess people are thinking of, then the impacts of those improvements will have a far greater societal impact than anything that the metaverse could possibly provide, in my view. So
I love this comment, by the way. I have similar rants when people think that voice assistants are the future. Voice assistants are tricky, man. Those are one that I kind of have, your point of view towards the metaverse on, John. It's like people running around shouting at these voice assistants doesn't seem very practical to me. And we've implemented some of them in the house, and they work when they want to work. Half the time you're just yelling at it to stop doing the thing it's doing incorrectly. So they definitely have a lot of room to grow and kind of get debugged.
Sure.
And this is going to happen with this concept as well. But I was probably talking about this about 10 years ago. This slide's 7 years old. And I'm saying here, using data as a fourth dimension, you basically are occupying multiple 3D spaces in whatever room you're inside of, whether it's you're viewing it through a lens or a phone or whatever it may be. There's definitely data overlaid on top of spatial data that can give you the ability to traverse different realities, and it's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming.
I just never liked the idea. I just never liked the idea of bugging your own house. Like, why would you do that? That was the whole point of like, let's put these mics, active listening mics in your house. I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? It's like, All right, I guess. I mean, look, the most I've ever done with the voice assistant stuff is I've gotten like Siri to dim my kitchen lights by 50%. It's whatever, sort of thing. So I know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's the voice assistant stuff is meh. That's kind of a whatever. I mean, that's interesting thing about voice assistant stuff is that I don't know if people know this, but we sound like whales to most of these computer programs, right? Like we talk at such a slow pace relative to how fast we compute audio. If you're thinking, if I'm a voice assistant technology, right? It's like, come on, get it out. Let's go. Tell me what you want. And you got to slow everything down. And then, or sorry, rather speed it all up so you can kind of understand what the person's asking for. So I just thought that was interesting when you consider that's another hard problem because you have to take this sort of audio file, which is really slow compared to the CPU and kind of, figure out what is this person telling me? It's like listening to some of your parents when you're a child, like, okay, just get it out, please.
Yeah.
I have things to do.
Catherine's got an amazing point about this with accessibility. That's one of the best uses for this voice technology.
Absolutely. I love voice assisted stuff. Don't get me wrong. That definitely has an applicable use in my opinion. I was just saying how it's an interesting problem for the people writing these things. So
yeah, and we talked about this on the show before. I said, I don't know if you remember this, John. I said you would get along with the CEO of Roku because he was on Bloomberg.
Just give me a remote.
Yeah, he was like, people just want to watch. We were talking about smart TVs. They don't want to talk to it. Yeah.
He's
like, they don't want to talk to it. They just want to.
People are doing the same backlash against Tesla now, right? So people are like, just give me a dumb car. Like, don't give me the drivers because I think didn't Tesla do a recall or something like that recently or something like that because they were going through stop signs and stuff. It's like you're making this thing too intelligent, So stop. Just give me. I just need a car. give me the Ford Taurus.
Yeah.
I love Teslas, by the way. Teslas are awesome, but yeah.
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
That's right. Like making my way out to my Mercury Tracer. All right, here we go, guys. I mean, I grew up in the back of like station wagons as a kid, right? So I'm like, look, a car is just getting us from one place to the next. I don't need to play Pokemon and, all these other things. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Teslas. But yeah, I think the drive assist stuff and all those sorts of assistive technology stuff, it's like, yeah, all right, I guess we're going to do this. Let's put the camera like this and the car will drive for us. And then we'll have the voice activation thing in the background and whatever else we can assist us. I mean, I didn't realize we needed so much help, thank God we live now because it's like, I don't know how we got this far as a species, So
I can't wait till we're both on the spaceship heading away from Earth as it crumbles. And I say, I told you so, John. Wally was the future.
Exactly.
We're here now, buddy. Enjoy the ride.
I know.
We should probably get on to some more articles.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've beaten this one to death. So
again, apologize for the Hall of Mirrors, but that's my setup today. John, this is a link that you shared, a GitHub repo called
So this is actually this dovetails perfectly. This dovetails perfectly in what's old is new and what's new is old, etc. So I don't know if you guys know, but I mean terminals are making a massive comeback, right? So terminal UI, TUI is the new hot acronym now amongst developers, and so terminals are actually making kind of because people love command line interface, right? CLI, command line interface. This is like what's old is new again, and people have come back to like sometimes people don't like the UIs you put on your apps. It's like, listen, just get out of the way. Just let me do what I want and do it textually. And so terminal interfaces, TUIs, are becoming a bit of a hotness, or at least what I'm seeing. And maybe I'm coming late to the game here, but Rich is a Python library to help create TUIs. And there's another one called Charm, which is something I included as well. Charm's based on Go.
Yes.
Both of these things are awesome. Now, Charm is a little bit different. Charm will provide a backend to your CLI as well. But Charm has this really cool interface language called BubbleT, and you create bubbles, which are components. We're terminal components. And so this is really, really cool stuff, what's happening. Like I love being a kid of the 80s growing up with terminal windows and stuff. So what's happening now is people are like going back to, like, I don't know why. It's like kids of the new generation like listening to the previous generation's music. It's like people of this generation are like saying, "Hey, you know what's really cool are terminals." And like the rest of us are like, "Yeah, we grew up with them." But now what's happening is people are like, "Look, I don't like interfaces that you're like web interfaces are great, they're reachable, accessible, etc. Yada yada yada. But I don't like the way people are building them. They're getting in the way. So get out of the way. Give me a terminal. Let me do through commands." And so things like Charm and Rich and others are bringing the terminal back, basically. And I actually don't mind this. This actually warms my heart a little bit, because the only reason why is because it's lighter, it's presumably faster, it's nostalgic, but it's actually can be pretty cool, actually, like to put a new take on something that you could do. So charm.sh is more than just a UI front end, it's also a back end. So Bubble Tea is a UI framework. Bubbles are what you create to create UIs. Charm is basically adding a Go based library to your CLI backend. That's all of Charm this. And then Rich is the Python equivalent. There are other ones as well, but I'll be interested to see how terminals come back. And I wouldn't mind seeing this, because they can be super efficient, you know. So
All I have to say is this is the most hipster thing I think I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not knocking it though. I mean, it's a gorgeous design. This website is amazing, but the whole like the bubble tea, lip gloss, glamour, harmonica.
Glamour's the rendering of Markdown into a terminal. Yeah.
This is some.
This is all based on Go, by the way.
Special.
This is all based on Go, which is awesome. And then Rich, as I said before, is based on Python. And
amazing design.
There is some power in behind this, because you can pipe the output and do interesting things with that output. For example, like you can say, "Hey, I want to, take this and render it out as JSON, then take that JSON and do something with it, and then take that and do something else with it." Like, there's a lot of power and flexibility. Whereas these web interfaces, which are super accessible and mobile and all that sort of stuff, which is great, there's not much you can do with it. You're dealing with angle brackets and JavaScript and CSS, and it's like, okay, great, and whatever, but give me text. Text is super usable, right, in terms of power and flexibility. So I hope we have a renaissance of a combination, a hybrid, an amalgam of web UI, native UI, text UI, right? Like text is that sort of, I think, the thing that people tend to forget about, and that's where terminals come in. So I think terminals would be kind of cool to bring back, in my view.
I think we should do it all in VR.
No, we're going. That's the wrong direction. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's like
VR,
Johnny Mnemonic trying to move windows around, etc., etc. It's like you can't do much with that, because you're limited by. It's like, oh, you didn't support that gesture, and it's like, okay, whatever. So,
Catherine wants the good old fashioned text-based adventure.
What was it, Zork? Yeah, let's get Zork back. So
there was a real sweet spot though. I wasn't big into the whole like full text-based, but I liked the Sierra games back in the day.
Sure.
That you had to type in the commands, but when they moved to a complete like mouse-driven UI, it ruined them. That's my opinion.
We should alter the brevity is the soul of wit to brevity is the soul of information systems, or something to that equivalent, right? So don't just tell me the news, not the weather. I think people are spending a lot too much time kind of making things look pretty. It's like, come on, just get to the point. Tell me what I need to know. I'm dealing with computer systems. I'm not dealing with this awesome thing. So I hope terminal UIs come back. That would be cool.
Yeah, the original Space Quest was like one of my all-time absolute favorite games. You just can't beat that experience. And they added like a mouse over UI to it, and it just completely shat on the whole experience. It made it miserable. But
I don't know. I think we're in that technology has this repeatable stuff. It's like listening to music, right? So there you go. Yeah.
I mean, should we even pay attention to WebAssembly, John?
Yes, absolutely. And not for the reasons you'd think. I think WebAssembly is important, and I think WebAssembly is awesome, and I think it's going to improve the overall experience for front end. So I want to get that out of the way. However, I think WebAssembly is going to make a huge impact on the back end, far more than the front end. That's my hot take on this. But I think the real power in WebAssembly is the fact that you finally have almost near perfect portable execution environment with really good security, and provides the basis of something that is super pluggable. And pluggability in the back end is like the holy grail of a lot of back end systems, because when you're building a back end system, you typically build a monolith because you don't know what you're doing. And I speak from my own experience doing this. And then you realize, oh, we should probably build this with some extensibility in mind. You start breaking it out. You have to define protocols and formats and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you take a stab at looking at something like WebAssembly, where it can actually come in, with this built in nearly, you can definitely do that. So, I think people look at the term WebAssembly and they equate web immediately with this and say it's only a front end technology. And I would say, if you see it that way, you're getting half the story. I think the real story is in the back end with WebAssembly, but that's me.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be tied to a presentation layer. It's definitely made Blazor very interesting. I think I talked about it on here. If I haven't, there are some Blazor demos that Steve Sanderson did. Yeah, we did talk about it on this show.
Yes, we have.
Where he was compiling a MySQL database engine to run in the browser through WebAssembly using the Inscription compiler, and then you've got that running with .NET code, running with JavaScript code. It's all interoping together in a big, happy, fantastic way, and you really don't get that anywhere else, even on the desktop. Like it's just not a thing.
I'm far more excited by that future than this future, but whatever. So as I hold up, I realize as I hold up my iPhone 7, like I'm such an old man. Like I'm not getting rid of this thing. I'm like, I don't want to buy a new one. I don't care.
Yeah, my phone was so old. I got a message from our carrier that said it's time. Like we're cutting you off. They literally. I think it was for
BlackBerry is dead. All right, get rid of it. So
for security reasons or whatever, they're like, yeah, this phone's done. You're gonna have to go buy a new one. So I've got the Pixel 6. Just got it like a week ago. It's a pretty nice phone so far. Some people have complained, but I think those people are like phone power users. I don't use my phone that much, to be honest.
No, I don't. Unless you're on Instagram or you're taking lots of photos and video. I don't know if you really need all the cameras and all that stuff. So
I play a game here and there. I do some email. It's not my work device. My workhorse is my desktop PC. That's where all the intense work happens.
That's where all the fun happens. Yeah,
it is. It really is. VR and AR and Half-Life and Call of Duty and .NET and you name it. It's in here and compressing strings with .NET, all that fun stuff. Right, Morty?
Sure.
All right.
Right, Morty.
This is a great article by Khalid. He's over at JetBrains. He's got a really, really excellent blog, by the way. So if you haven't,
I didn't realize I didn't realize strings were needed to be compressed. I mean, is this a thing that we have to do? I'm not sure.
If you're sending them over the wire, you probably should.
Oh, okay, yes, but I thought transport protocols could help with that, right?
Yeah, he's kind of giving you some insight into.
There's gzip and broadly.
You have access to and how to use those. So I thought this was pretty interesting because I didn't realize that this was so easily accessible through C#. So he just kind of goes over how to broadly stream something from a string and so on, and just kind of lays it out in some nice examples. I thought this was a really, really cool article. It talks about the compression ratio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look at this, 83.7%.
I know, it's insane. I what's really bad is I've hit sites and you look at their headers and they don't have any compression enabled. You're like, ugh, It's like, this isn't going to hurt. Don't worry. I just don't see the reason to do this with strings. Like if they like, that's the thing that's lost to me. Like, why do you have to do this? Unless you're building a server, I guess, but whatever. So
Yeah,
just
you
because
kind of
usually if you're doing this through web services or whatnot, that stuff is handled by IIS, Apache, Nginx, etc. So
yeah, I think this is kind of a look inside the black box type of a
okay,
read.
yeah, fair enough.
So he even says data compression is part of
No, there you
modern
go. It says
software.
compression is a low level feature of any web server or framework. Yeah,
Mhm.
perfect.
You only need to enable it, for this reason,
Yeah.
that reason, and if you do, be sure to flush it.
Always flush your streams. Yes, that's very important. That has bit me since I was a kid. Like IO streams and flushing and all that stuff. It's like
Oh, so this isn't
I don't.
like a let it mellow situation.
No, this is if you don't flush your streams, you're not going to get any data, or or they're going to be held. You're going to hold on to sockets, or there's going to be problems. So
Yeah. Um, he does have an excellent blog though. Some folks here talk about the blog.
nice.
This is another one I was getting ready to share here. Another great blogger that I know personally. Um, oops, got to get these screen things fixed. This is JD Dinelko, and he
Perfect picture.
blogs quite a bit. He's got a pretty
Perfect
extensive blog.
picture.
Um, yeah, he's talking about how to analyze performance of any framework,
Yes.
and he gives some really good tips in here, and does some comparisons.
Yes.
He's also got the breakdown of like what it's producing and all
Yes.
that stuff. These are things that you should really be doing if you're writing EF code. Um,
Or T-SQL,
yes,
right?
yes. Hopefully,
Less
if you're
joins.
yeah,
Try not to join so much.
if you're writing
Try to
these
use
things,
an index.
hopefully,
Try to use an index if you have one.
yeah, hopefully you're in the know of what the SQL code means when it comes out. It's been a while
Yes.
since I've actually written some SQL code, but um, I can read it. I couldn't write it from scratch probably anymore, but I can definitely
Hey, we
read
can
it.
all write T-SQL. Select star from foo. We're
I
good.
know what looks like bad SQL as well.
Yes.
So make sure you kind of brush up on that. But he talks about using the ASNO tracking. This is, if you're working with data from the SQL or with any framework, but you're not necessarily worried about changing the state of it. If you're just like
Right.
reading something, for example, you're
Yes.
not doing a CRUD operation on it.
Yeah. State
Uh,
change. It's like
yeah.
data sets in the back in the day,
So you can set as no tracking on it now, and it's going
Yes.
to literally do what it says and not track changes and things on it. Um, so that's a really great tip. Um, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's a very extensive article. So
I would
make
also
sure.
I would also add something to this, which is use Linkpad. Linkpad's a great tool for
Yeah.
this sort of thing.
Yes. So another great blog post. Again, frequent. He's a very frequent blogger. You'll see lots of good .NET and C# stuff here.
Nice.
Very frequently. So check that
Nice.
out.
Setup looks is very tidy compared to mine.
Mine is an absolute train wreck right now. So we have the situation here where my office is in the basement. And the basement ends up being the dumping ground when somebody does some deep cleaning somewhere. So I've
All
got
right.
kids' toys and stuff that needs to go to garage sales and Goodwill and what have you, littering my
Okay.
office at the moment.
All right.
This is I'm lazy. I'll admit that. I can be lazy. And I can be too lazy to write documentation. So why not write
This already scares me. This is
AI?
already scary to me.
The word AI came up and John is already
Yes.
running for the hills.
Yes.
So, we already have AI to write our code. Why not write our documentation
Sure,
too?
why not? Just do the programming and everything. Why not just like give up, So
Yeah. So this is a tool that you can install and it will try to um, decipher what your code is doing and give you some
how?
documentation around
How
it.
does it do this? I just want to know how here it is in action. Okay. So we've
It
got
uses blockchain AI NFT algorithms, John. Didn't you know?
well, all right. This calculates the sum of squared root of a given collect data set. Well, this assumes to a certain extent you have I guess I assume code that is reasonable to deduce what is happening, but
I mean, it's going to tell you right here. Now, how can AI understand it?
all right.
So yeah, I think a lot of it has to do probably with looking at what it's actually performing
Okay.
and maybe some of the
Yeah.
naming that you give it.
Yeah.
And it tries its best to generate.
Wonder where the AI where I'm wondering how it does the AI bit. Like it obviously must send the snippet
I
off
mean,
to some server.
here's probably one
Is
that would
Buzz.
be
Yeah,
easy
I
to
know.
understand. FizzBuzz. So it
Yes.
prints fizz if the number is divisible by 3, but blah blah blah. It's pretty accurate.
It is, but that
It's
assumes
pretty
that the
accurate.
code you wrote is accurate, right? Like it would
Yeah.
be interesting is if you got the code wrong and there was a bug and then it gave you a description like, "Wait, that's not what it does." You're like, "Oh,
Well,
my code's wrong," So
that's okay, John, because the next article is how you can use AI to create unit tests. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going to go there.
I'm wondering how where the part that's lost on me is the AI bit. I don't know where that occurs. I assume it happens. So this mint fly, whatever.
You
I'm
can grab it
assuming,
on the VS Marketplace
yeah.
and try it out.
No, I understand that, but I'm guessing, I'm speculating that this probably takes that snippet and sends it over the wire to some backend somewhere, and then sends a result back. I doubt this is done in line with VS Code.
I doubt it's running the model on your computer.
Yes.
I do doubt that.
Yes.
But this is very much in the same line as Copilot, right? It's just
Yes, it is. Yes.
putting a different spin on it.
It
Instead of
is.
it
Yes.
predicting what your next line of code is going to be, it's kind of humanizing the, what it's doing, trying
Yeah.
to put it in
I mean,
words.
the reality is we do have tools like this already. What isn't done as part of this is the human sort of string that's generated. So we have a variety of tools that will statically analyze functions and classes and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, but they don't generate the human readable strings. So
So,
anyway,
we talked about this before with the Mozart uh,
yes,
article that we talked about on
generates the
previous
music.
shows.
Yes.
So, what they did for the folks that didn't see the show, we talked about how they used multiple AI algorithms to reproduce a unfinished Mozart symphony. And the key point of the article was that the AI didn't create the music on its own. It was used as a guide for artists to interpret and then create the music as a finished product. And I think the documentation tool here does the same type of thing, in my opinion. So it may not
Okay.
produce the best and most complete documentation you've ever seen, but you can click on there was a good animation of it somewhere. Was it yeah, right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can click on generate docs, it spits out the little template and it gives you some place to start, right?
Starting point.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
gives you, a good template to follow and then you can
Fair enough.
put in your
Fair
your
enough.
human input on top
I know
of
I'm
what
being
it
super
generated.
critical. I apologize. This person's done a good job, so I apologize.
I would love to check that out and take it for a test drive if I wrote the code that it covered. But unfortunately, it's for JavaScript and Python, and I'm not doing that
Oh,
these
actually, there was more
days.
languages than that. If you scroll down, they give you a bunch. I thought there was
Um,
more than just
there
that.
was more than the
Yeah.
two, but still none of the ones
Yes.
I'm currently writing. Where was it? Yeah, there was quite a few,
Okay.
but C
Whatever.
sharp was not one of them. It was here it is. JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, and PHP.
Perfect.
If it can make documentation for PHP, it can make documentation for anything. This may be the AGI that gets away from us and kills us all, John. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Slight
picked
little
fun of
dig there.
PHP. Haha. I've done plenty of PHP back in the day. I have my rights to
Your
make
scars, the scar tissue.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to make these jokes. And geez, if I could get the ads
Yes.
off of this, I don't know, like, if this is
what you got. This is what you get for going to hothardware.com, whatever this site is.
So this was, me having a new phone, seeing something that is a little tiny bit worrisome.
Okay.
There was a two-factor authentication app in the App Store. Judging by the icon, it's not something I'd probably download.
It's more
I'm
like,
not
give it to
too
me,
worried about it.
Yeah.
But apparently this was a Trojan virus that was getting in to people's bank accounts and emptying them out. So bad things happen if you download apps you do not really know that much about. So
No,
I just wanted
and especially if they're signed by an individual, you want to see those signed by a corporation more often than not.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway of this one was, like, trust your authentication to the big guys like Microsoft, Google, Apple, and
exactly.
Even the most hated company on the planet right now, Facebook. Like, you're not gonna want to have the I bought this clip art for $1 icon. That's probably icon's not the only thing you should judge things by, but it is a red flag when it looks like this. But even the ones that are listed here, I would proceed with caution. Like, go with the big guys if you're going to have something storing your passwords or providing authentication.
Agree.
More of your favorite topic, John.
Oh, come on.
The Quest 3 has started to leak. So it looks like next year we are going to get a Quest 3, and sometime in the intermediate, there is a like a refresh of the Quest 2 that may come out. So we're gonna see a kind of half, evolutionary release and then a big release next year. So they're looking at like mini LED screens and then eventually micro OLED screens. And I don't know why that just opened. Oh, because I clicked here. But some of the specs that they're talking about are pretty impressive. So it's going to go head to head with the Sony PlayStation 2 VR2, which is going to be 4K, which means that's two very high definition per eye screens. So I mean that's pretty darn high DPI right there. This could be really impressive visuals. And then it has the PlayStation to power that, by the way. So it's not just games that are on the headset like it is on Oculus. So that's some pretty stiff competition. So looking at Oculus 3, which they are saying could be up to 240 hertz, and you can imagine it's going to be somewhere around that 4K resolution. I'm looking forward to this. I am hoping it is also augmented reality compatible. So I hope it has full color cameras on it, unlike the current setup. Which, if you watched the Meta, whatever it was called, conference that they had earlier last year, they put a lot of APIs in their SDKs for that type of thing. So you can only imagine that's what's going to come with it. So getting excited about that one. I want a refresh of my headset.
Sure.
John, little shameless plug.
Yes. We acquired Dist. It's basically a cloud-based container registry. So if you're using Octopus Deploy, just something to bear in mind. So you can read the article there. I won't go too much on it because we're running out of time. But yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations on the new purchase.
Yes.
Speaking of congratulations, it is 20 years of .NET on February 14th. .NET is pretty close to being as old as I am now. So there's that. But it's been a free open source platform for 20 years. They're having a celebration broadcast
it's been a free platform for 20 years. It hasn't been open source for 20 years. Sorry
that is
to correct.
Very true. That is very true. But it has been something that I've worked with for the last 20 years. Definitely changed my career for sure.
Sure.
I probably would have gravitated to some other languages or something, but .NET has made things very easy to kind of adopt, and the learning curve's been good for me.
Yes.
And I've used it for quite a while to have multiple different careers on this path. So it's been a good 20 years for me.
The
I
thing
have
I'll
to
say
say.
about this is that people who look at .NET with scorn or with cynicism are largely ignoring the significant contribution it had to the industry as a whole.
Mhm.
And I think its place in history will be well established. And I think .NET was a massive improvement to the state of affairs we had on the platform.
Yeah, I
And you could
definitely
argue
agree.
like, oh, they just copied Java, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, whatever. But the reality is C# was a breath of fresh air. The CLI was multilingual. The tooling was second to none. The ecosystem itself was massive. It eventually went open source. It brought to bear. It created a lot of goodness. It actually, I would argue, brought a lot of people to programming. I would say far more
Yeah.
than a lot of other languages did. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at it as more than just languages too, because
Agreed.
it's a framework more than anything, and it
Yes.
supports C sharp and VB.net and F sharp, and I knew some VB and some other similar languages and gravitated to .net because it had VB, and I was like, well, I already know VB, and this runs on my Windows desktop, and I can write apps for the company I work for. And then ASP.NET came along, and I moved to the web and started doing more C sharp stuff because it just was more expressive to, you could do a lot more with a lot less code and so on and so forth. And then here I am 20 years later and still using those same technologies, just bigger grown up versions of them.
Yes.
So it's, looking forward to the celebration myself. That's in 2 weeks. And I'm sure there will be plenty of our familiar faces from the .NET community chiming in
Yes.
and
So
streaming
so
that
happy
day.
birthday, .net. Happy birthday.
And the hashtag going online now is hashtag .NET loves me. So if you want to
Okay.
tweet about,
It's not creepy.
um, if you want to
Why not just happy
express,
birthday .net? What's wrong
I
with
I
that? Just,
I didn't make up the hashtag.
now
Don't
it's
shoot the
.net loves
messenger.
me. Mm,
It's .NET loves me.
okay.
I remember when that
Okay.
that I love you virus was big. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah.
I remember my coworker opening his email from the cubicle next to me and shouting, "Somebody loves me!" Like,
Don't click it. Don't
yeah.
what's this VBS extension? Whatever. It's like,
Obviously, he
no.
knew what it was, but I mean, the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
joke was like the going inside joke around the office was screaming, "Somebody loves me!" And
Yes.
that this feels very similarly. Donnet loves me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Whatever.
it's a good virus to have, the .NET loves me virus,
Oh, there
because
we go.
it can
There we
keep
go.
you
Got the love bug. There you
keeps you
go.
gainfully employed and teaches you good programming skills. And there's a very, I'd say, a very healthy community that's willing to teach newcomers. So make sure you check out the .NET Loves Me hashtag and
All right.
check out their event that's coming up if you do indeed love .NET. I think it has something to do with the holiday as well. So
Yes.
it is Valentine's Day. I think
Corporate.
yeah,
Corporate.
somebody's being clever, and
Yes.
it looks like the .NET bot has some party accessories that you can add to it as well. If you haven't
Great.
checked that out yet, it's mod.net bot. Have you seen the .NET bot website, John? I know you're
No,
gonna
I
love
don't want
this.
to. Oh, God, here we go.
So you can go on and create your own .NET bot.
Great.
It's kind of like your MMO builder tool here. So you
Great.
can go in and create your party outfit
Don't
for
care.
your .NET bot, John.
Don't. I don't care.
I need to create a John.net bot. That's what I need to do. It's just can I make a Bristowe bot? Is that possible?
Sure. Go for it. I don't care.
I have to rotate him 180 degrees though, so he's upside down.
Yeah, put him upside down. That's right.
Australia jokes.
Yep.
Punchline, rim shot. All right, guys, I think we're done for today. Thank you for hanging out with us and listening to our goofy old man rants on technology. Yes. It's been a lot of fun. John, appreciate your canter as always. It's a busy week here at Progress. We're having webinars all week long. We have a show that's kind of tentative as well. I'm still working on the details. We should have Jeff Fritz on Friday if everything works out okay. We're kind of having some scheduling issues there, but so stay tuned to the channel. Just like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and you'll find out when things go live. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.